Hey buds, how's it going? I am MC, and about a month ago I got to go on a trip to Scotland, so that's what this video is about. Previously, I've done 2 of these art travel style videos where I've drawn a building from the place that I've gone to. But I knew going to Scotland that I didn't want to draw a building this time, just because it's not my favorite type of thing to draw, and I don't have a super fun time with the process of drawing them. So this time I found a sculpture that I wanted to do a figure study of in the National Galleries in Edinburgh. So this is the drawing that I'm going to be working on today. I've obviously already finished it, but yeah, I just wanted to keep this intro super short and sweet so we can just get right into the drawing process, and I'll talk a little bit more about my trip as we go. So let's get into it. So the original Venus de Medici is on display in Florence, and it's a Greek statue from the 1st century BCE. So the one that I'm drawing is a 1784 copy done by Innocenzo Spinazzi. And the original statue is actually one that's been in the To Draw album on my phone for a few months now. So when I walked into the National Galleries in Edinburgh, and this copy was one of the first things I saw, I was able to identify it pretty much immediately. And I just have a quick tip that I wanted to add here at the beginning. For this drawing, I'm working pretty small. The paper size for this drawing is 9 inches by 12 inches, and the drawing itself is 2 3/4 inches by 9.5 inches for a drawing of a full body statue. So if you're working from reference on a smaller scale and finding a bit difficult to get things as accurate as you'd like, I'd recommend focusing on blocking in your shadows first. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but your darkest shadows are going to be one of, if not the most important part of the structure of your drawings. If you get the shadow areas right, you'll find that your subject almost instantly takes shape. It'll already start to look a lot like your reference with just the 2 very simple values of dark and light. I was a bit intimidated with the small scale of this drawing when I was starting Venus's face, until I remembered to just focus on those shadows, and pretty much instantly I felt like I was making progress and starting to get things right. And this is actually a step of the art process that I'm trying to remind myself to add into all of my drawings and illustrations right now. I've been finding, and I've always kind of found, that my drawing process can take a really long time, and that frustrates me most of the time. I do think I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and that's part of the problem, but I also think that me hyperfixating on the small details of my drawings way too early on in the process is also slowing me down a lot. So I'm working on remembering to block in those shadows, like I said, blending out my midtones, and then going back in with my pencil and eraser to really carve out those fine details, add some bright whites, and do that sort of thing. And so far, I do think it's been helping speed up my process a little bit. It is something that is a basic part of the process that feels a bit foreign to me right now because I've strayed so far from it in recent years. So I'll start fixating on the small details again, and I do have to keep reminding myself that blocking in the shadows and doing the basics is what I'm trying to do when I kind of fall back into my old process. So hopefully once I've kind of relearned how to do more of a step-by-step process of building up my drawings, it'll help solve that problem of working and reworking these small areas of my drawings that's taking me so long to get things done. Also for this drawing, I'm using the Artist Loft Bristol paper. I wanted to talk about this paper when I used it for a drawing in a previous video, but I spent 45 minutes talking about hermaphroditus in that video, so I didn't have time. And if you're curious, Hermaphroditus is the most interesting goddess you've never heard of, and I'll link that video in the info card so you can check her out. But I love this paper. I had never used Bristol paper before my previous drawing on it, and I love the texture of it and how smooth the graphite applies to it. I think it's the best paper I've ever used for a figure study. It really makes the marble look like marble, and I've always found marble is a really hard texture to achieve because of how smooth and polished it is. So it's really satisfying to find a type of paper that I think helps me achieve the look that I want, because I've never really had that on watercolor paper or mixed media or sketch pads in the past. When I was looking at trying Bristol paper, I did look first at Canson's, just because that's my go-to brand. I usually like them better for every type of paper. Even tracing paper, Canson has the absolute best tracing paper. But with their Bristol paper, I think it's recycled, which is good, and of course I like the idea of that. But because it's recycled, I found that it had way too many speckles on the paper, and unfortunately when I'm planning on working on it in graphite and pretty much exclusively in blacks, whites, and grays, the random speckles on the pages are very possibly going to get in the way of my work and maybe make it look like I've made mistakes in places. So I like the look and quality of the Artist Loft paper, which is technically the cheaper brand, but the only place I really find that there's a lower quality to the paper is in the glue that binds the pad together. It's crazy stuck on there. So when you use it, I just find that I'm gonna kind of have to put up with having a couple bits of the glue stuck to the top of my page. I've tried and I have not been able to get it off, but I love the paper, so I'm kind of willing to put up with that one minor complaint. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the super exciting chat about paper. Drawing this statue was all kind of a happy coincidence, really. I went to Scotland knowing that I wanted to make another video about my trip like I had with my trips to Ottawa and Paris, Ontario. But I knew that I did not want to draw another building this time. And I had also kind of been wanting to do a figure study using a photo that I took myself. Obviously, being from Canada, I don't really have a lot of access to some of the more famous and well-known sculptures and paintings that I would like to, so I do rely a lot on Google to do figure studies. And I had just been wanting to change that and be able to take my own photo. I was actually thinking about it recently that I need to make time to go to the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum again, and I still really want to do that. We do have some cool stuff that I think I would end up wanting to draw from there, But even though this is a copy, I thought that it all ended up working out really well, that I came across it and got to draw something based off of my own reference, like I had been wanting to. I spent quite a bit of time dancing around the statue, trying to get different angles of it and give myself a few different options that I don't get when I'm just Googling things, and decide how I might want to draw it. And I ended up just going with the first head-on picture that I took of it. And it did actually just end up being one of the most similar to the pictures I've seen of the original. And after taking a bunch of my own, I definitely think that that is the best angle to view this statue from. So even though the National Galleries in Scotland were pretty small, it's only really 4 different rooms. I really liked it. It was kind of nice to be in a bit of a smaller museum like that and get to do a few laps around every room and really get to see everything. I'm a big nerd for the Renaissance and classical art, which might be obvious by this drawing, but it's really cool to get to see works by Da Vinci, Botticelli, Raphael, and Titian in person. You obviously don't really get that in Canada unless there's some sort of special exhibition if you're lucky. It might seem like a really small thing, but getting to see those Renaissance blue pigments in person, they're just so beautiful. I find my eye is drawn more to the sky in Titian's paintings than I do to the figures. I feel like those paintings just make me understand why artists like Yves Klein fell in love with the sky and the color of the sky. You just don't get those pigments in artwork anymore, and I think they're almost better than real life. But anyway, super exciting chat about paper and then about the color blue. I did also really like the section of Scottish artists and artworks that they have in the gallery. Of course, there's John Ems's painting of the dog Callum, which is really cute. And then I also really like the paintings by Sir Joseph Noel Paton, based on A Midsummer Night's Dream. They were very chaotic, and I definitely got Hieronymus Bosch vibes from them. I really liked all of the crazy and whimsical little characters in those paintings. And there were 4 really beautiful tapestries by an artist called Phoebe Anna Trequire. I hope I'm saying that right. But I thought it was really funny that any plaque describing her described her as very influential in the arts and crafts movement. And if you look at those tapestries, to call what she did arts and crafts just feels like a bit of a wild understatement for how beautiful and detailed her work was, especially in tapestry and with fiber, which is an unbelievably hard medium to work in. And they have another one of her tapestries in the National Museum as well. And even though I did really like the museum, it's a really cool building, I just found it wasn't laid out the best, and it really felt like a maze trying to get through it. I was a little bit confused when they had the section called Early Peoples downstairs, and that's where you could find the Ancient Rome exhibit and the Early Scotland exhibit, but Egypt, which preceded both of those civilizations, was upstairs nearer to the technology exhibit. It was just a little confusing, and there was a lot of walking and circling around to try and find the things that we hadn't already seen. But regardless, there's still some pretty neat stuff in there, of course. There were 2 displays, one that had small bronze casted statues and another with small terracotta sculptures, all depicting scenes from Greek myths from the Renaissance that I really liked. And I got to see a Roman milestone, which, if you don't know what that is, on Roman roads, they all actually did lead to Rome. So basically, every mile they would put a literal milestone to let you know how far you were from the last town you passed and how close you were to the next town you were going to. So the specific milestone that they have in the museum was installed in Scotland during the reign of Antoninus Pius, and the location that's still visible on this stone is Tremontium, which is now a place called Newstead. So that was really cool, and I was really excited to get to see one of those. But I think what I'd recommend the most if you're traveling to Scotland in general is the Highlands. We did a day-long bus tour through the Highlands, starting in Edinburgh to Glenfinnan and back, and the Highlands instantly became one of my most favorite places that I've ever been, and definitely one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. The tour was with the Harry Coo, and our guide's name was Bruce, and he had a lot of relevant facts for everything we passed on the way, like a good tour guide would, obviously. He also played Scottish folk songs that were relevant to the areas we were driving through to accompany some of the history he was sharing. And he would also play all Scottish music and artists just to fill in the silence as the bus drove along. And when we were coming to the end of the day trip and close to Edinburgh again, he played the song Into the West by Annie Lennox and Howard Shore. And if you're a nerd like me, you know that that is the credit song for The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. And that song can always make me cry when I get to the end of those movies. It's so good. So with how much I loved the Highlands, I really liked hearing that song to end our trip through them. We got to see some Highland cows, which were very cute. Even though they were definitely planted there for the tourists, it's not like we got to see them in the wild or anything. We passed the Three Sisters Mountains, which were incredible. Saw the Ben Nevis mountain range. The train tracks in Glenfinnan were really cool to see. But yeah, just loved it all. I just loved being in the Highlands in general. And I've never felt so frustrated that pictures couldn't do a place justice. I feel like I can't even accurately describe it. It just feels like such a vast and limitless expanse of green, rocky hills and lochs, and we got a perfect day with some rainy, misty, foggy weather that really gave the stereotypical atmosphere of the Highlands, and then got a little bit of sun too, which was nice. But now that I've been there, I just want to go back and get lost in the Highlands. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm not really at all an outdoorsy person. I don't ever want to go on a hike. I don't want to go camping. Cottages can even be a little bit too rustic for me. If you want to walk around Toronto all day long, or in this case Edinburgh, I am so down. But outside in nature, absolutely not. But now all I want to do is the West Highland Way hike. We saw some people doing it from the bus, and I think about it all the time now, and I just want to do it so bad. It's like a 91-mile or something like that hike and camping trip, and I don't know if I can handle it, and I'm probably romanticizing it, but I would absolutely be willing to risk it to just get to be in the Highlands. I found them so inspiring, and I said to my girlfriend, who's an artist as well, and I need someone to help me bully her into making an Instagram account to start sharing her paintings because she's really good. But I said to her that I found it super frustrating because I don't know how I would even attempt to do them justice in a drawing or any type of art that I'm capable of. And she said she felt the same. But regardless, I kind of feel like I need to do a massive mural to even remotely do them justice. But I do keep looking at some of my pictures from that day, trying to think of a way that I could do some sort of illustration in my own style. So maybe one day the right inspiration will strike and I'll give it a shot. And yeah, I'm even finding it frustrating that I can't even really find the words to describe the Highlands right now. I don't know if there's any way to do them justice. You just have to go and see them for yourself. And I definitely think I'm going to have to go see them again at some point in my life. I just think about them all the time. I think about just big, rocky, grassy mountains all the time. If I'm daydreaming now, I'm probably just imagining myself prancing and frolicking through the Highlands. I want to go back so bad. But anyway, back to Edinburgh. We stayed in a hotel called the Brewdog Doghouse, which is also a brewery. And that was really cool. It was a really nice room, really great lounge area to sit in, with a candy bar, which was amazing. But if you weren't going to stay there, the food from there is also just really good. And I'm sure their beer also, but I don't like beer, so that's not for me. But I'd recommend just going for dinner if you're in Edinburgh. And our room was kind of like a nice little apartment. So we had our own kitchen space and a nice little living room area to sit in. So on the Saturday and Sunday that we were there, we bought a box of shortbread and made some coffees in our room. And around 9 o'clock our time, we were able to watch the first two Blue Jay playoff games where they beat the Yankees. So that was a really nice way to get to spend a couple of our nights before bed. But my girlfriend and I are both the type of travelers that like to just take our time, wander around, and explore things for ourselves. So it was just really nice to get to spend a few days walking around a new city, getting coffees, going into all the little shops, and doing our own thing. And something I did notice was that people in Scotland have way better music taste than we do over here, or the radio stations are just way better, because I did not hear one bad song on the radio. It was all 80s to early 2000s pop and alternative music, and I loved it. But I got a Harry Styles shirt that I love from a cute little queer shop called Pie in the Sky, and we went to the Greyfriars art shop and treated ourselves to a couple sketchbooks, which the paper quality in them is amazing. I've started drawing in mine, and I'm already sad that one day I'm going to finish it because it's the best quality sketchbook that I think I've ever got. And apart from that, I just got a whole stack of new things that I need to put up on my wall in my office. So I'm probably going to be doing another studio decorating video in the near future, and I'll put those up and get to talk a little bit more about my trip. But yeah, for this one, I think that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and you'll see me in the next one.